What's good, everybody? This is your Cosmic Homegirl, and I am bringing to you a general forecast for the year of 2025. I know it's a little bit ahead of the game. As I'm recording this, this is July of 2024, so we still have a few months left. We have like 5 or 6 months left until the year begins. But it's better to be forewarned and forearmed and ahead of the game than left behind with your hands up wondering what the hell's going to go on. That's one of the beauties of astrology, is being able to tell time. That's what it is. That's what a horoscope is. If you break down the word horoscope, it means telling time, watching time. So that's what we do in astrology, and I'm definitely going to let you guys know what's ahead for 2025. Now, this is a general forecast, but I do have available on my website, which is indigomoon.astrology.com. I will leave links in the description area as well as in the comments. I'll pin something for you to let you know how you can get your 2025 horoscope for your sign. All right. So I have them for each sign that are going to be available in July 2024. So you can get ahead of the game. Your rising sign is going to be the most accurate for you, but you can definitely look at your sun sign as well as your moon sign horoscope. The sun sign can definitely tell you about some major things popping. Moon sign is more like on a personal and internal, personal life level, family life, home life, and stuff like that, that you can see some possible predictions for what's coming up for you next year. So definitely check those out. indigomoon.astrology.com on the horoscopes page. Get yours today. They're on pre-sale for the first half of July. After that, they will be fully available. So let's go ahead and dive in. What's going on in 2025? Just a general diving and dipping into the year. There are so many things going on, so many changes. We have planets that are changing signs. The north and south nodes are changing signs. The eclipses are shifting onto a different axis as well, that kind of started in 2024. Well, dipped into to this new cycle in 2024, but fully continues in 2025. So there's so much newness that's going on. So we'll go ahead and start with the north and south nodes. This is these are the points in the sky. They're not actual physical bodies. They're not celestial physical bodies that move in the sky. They are points that are calculated, and they have cycles that are once every 18 to 19 years that they come back around into the same signs on the same axis, right? But once every, like, let's say 8 to 9 years is when they will be in the same signs once again, but opposite and flipped. So the last time we had the north node in Pisces and the south node in Virgo, that was June 2006 through December 2007. But the last time that they were generally in the signs just flipped. It was the south node in Pisces and the north node in Virgo. That was 2015 to 2017. So if you can think back at least to the most recent times that are listed here, so 2015 to 2017, how were certain areas of your life highlighted? What was going on? So you have to look at where Pisces is at in your chart and where Virgo is at as well. So you have to look at the houses that they're in and see what was going on. So when you get your horoscope for your sign, you can definitely compare back to those dates, those time frames, and think what was going on, and see if you can get a little bit of insight into what 2025 may be bringing to you as far as focus. The north node and the south node, they do show areas to where your life can have a lot of achievements, but at the same time have like some disasters happen. Okay, and I'm not fear mongering. You guys know I keep it real, whether good or bad. Okay, so it's where the most like events are going to happen in your life, the most eventful areas of your life. So once again, the last time we had this axis was at the same as it is now, or going to be. The north node in Pisces, south node in Virgo was 2006 and 2007. Personally, I can't remember back to like generally what was going on. I would have to really do a deep dive. Don't really have time for that. But I can think back to 2015 and 2017, what was going on in on the Pisces Virgo axis, personally. So you guys have to do that. But generally speaking, Pisces, you got to think of what Pisces rules and what Virgo rules, right? So Pisces is on a general scale, it's the oceans, it's water supply, it's animals, caring for animals and caring for living beings in general, pretty much is Pisces. It is fantasy, it's movies, it's video, it's photo, it's music. So those things can be highlighted a little extra during this time. Now, to add to 2025, with the North Node in Pisces, we also have two other very significant planets in the sign of Pisces. So we will definitely see those themes. They're going to be extra strong. Okay, now when we had the North Node in Pisces back in 2006 and 7, Uranus was also in Pisces, I believe. I got to double check. But Uranus was in Pisces as well. So we did have that influence going on. But we have Saturn and Neptune in Pisces this time. Okay, so what that says is, it's like double with triple actually with the Piscean themes. So when I could think back, generally, music changed a lot. There were some things maybe about music and the music industry that have some major shifts back then. Drugs and chemicals are ruled by Pisces and Neptune. So there could be themes that come up with that. I think about gasoline. Gasoline as like a chemical, but it's something that we use and we utilize a lot. So we could see maybe some shifts there, some news that has to do with gasoline and the production of it. Maybe some further movement with advancements to do with music. Also, Pisces rules homelessness. It rules medicine and the medical field. The Pisces Virgo axis in itself have something to do with the medical field. They rule that. When you think about mental health, you notice that ever since Neptune went into Pisces, everybody is talking about mental health, right? So that is because of Neptune in Pisces since 2011, 2012. So we could see maybe some reform because of Saturn and Pisces. The North Node in Pisces is going to conjoin Saturn. It's also going to conjoin Neptune next year. It's going to conjoin Neptune first and then Saturn a couple months later. So we're definitely going to see during those time periods. And I will have towards the end of this video, I'm going to go over some other significant aspects to highlight what I'm talking about here. But yeah, just in general, pretty much there could be those Piscean themes that come up super heavy. The reform type of stuff we may see when it's the North Node conjoined to Saturn next year in the month of April. But when it's conjoined to Neptune, it could be more like lessons based around Neptune stuff. There could be maybe I think they were trying to build like some cruise ships and rebuild the Titanic and stuff like that. I don't know. I'll have to look back in the news for that to see if that's really going on. I mean, see what's going on with that. But we could maybe hear some news about that. Things to do with giant, like entertainment on the water. Maybe, water supply, conservation of water, ocean life, and conservation. So we may see more themes that have to do with those things coming up in the next year. And then there's the Virgo South Node. So yeah, medicine, drugs, reform to do with drugs and alcohol. Maybe some new laws while the North Node and Saturn are together in Pisces could be coming up next year as well. So anything with Piscean themes and Virgo themes, we're going to see heavy, but more so on the Pisces side. Right, so we have the nodes are going to go from, because they move backwards. They're going to go down from 29 degrees down to 11 degrees in 2025. They're going to finish out their run on this axis in 2026. So any themes that we're talking about can continue on through the next year after this one that we're talking about. If you are a person that likes to look ahead and plan your years and stuff like that, that could be very important for you to know. So yes, this is the Pisces Virgo axis. Some changes maybe within healthcare. I live in the US, and so I really, really hope that there could be some changes with healthcare. It's kind of ridiculous in the US. We pay these big premiums that are like ridiculous and that come out of our checks and stuff like that. And then what is it really paying for? You have to pay a premium before they'll cover you for things. And then it may be only like a certain percentage of coverage of your medical fees. And you have to come out of pocket. And it's so just the business of the medical field could be under some sort of review, reform, something like that could be going on. Things to do with animals, animal rights, like I said, animal rescue, maybe some, like I said, with Saturn, there could be some laws that are implemented. And maybe some restrictions within music. The music business, I've been saying this for a while, it's definitely going through a reform. And I feel like a lot of artists are going to continue to move towards more of an independent route, or create their own record labels, which has been around for a long time, right? They're creating their own publishing, their own record labels. But I feel like there's going to be more that's going to be implemented because Pluto is in Aquarius at the same time, and that represents freedom, people to be in charge of themselves. Well, on the opposite end of the Aquarius spectrum, Aquarius can rule cults and following a leader and following masses of people, and that's how you make your decisions. But Aquarius can rule both, being an individual going on your own path, even if it's weird or wonky to everybody else. And also it can rule following, like how we have massive followings, and everything right now in this Aquarian age is about your follower count and all of that. So anyway, I say that to say that independence and individualism, along with community at the same time, because Aquarius is very weird and double-sided like that, are definitely encouraged at this time. And then we have this Pisces energy. Yeah, so music is definitely going to go through some changes. We may see possibly a continuation of trying to ban TikTok, because TikTok is creation, and it's not just music, but music is a big part of it. But even, doing impressions of people by mouthing their words and all of that is very Pisces. So there could be some restrictions. If it's not the banning of TikTok, it's restrictions further being put on TikTok and other apps like that, and also music and maybe with streaming. I'm hoping for artists. As an artist myself, I don't make music, but I do many different forms of art. So as an artist, I'm really hoping that artists are going to get paid their dues properly, and there's going to be some sort of reform when it comes to streaming and them getting paid for it instead of just pennies for it. That their value, which is Saturn, is going to be seen, when the North Node is in Pisces along with Saturn. So along with the nodes being on the Pisces Virgo axis, the eclipses follow suit, right? Because where they're at determine the eclipse cycles and the signs that they're in. So we're continuing on with the Virgo and Pisces axis with the eclipses. Now in 2024, we had one eclipse in September that is on this axis that opens the doors for everything else that we're going to be seeing and reviewing in 2025. Okay, and then we also are finishing out the cycle that's been going on for a couple of years on the Aries and Libra axis as well. So that means we have one eclipse in Aries, but the rest are Pisces and Virgo. So of course the lunar eclipses involve two signs. Okay, they involve both signs on the axis. The solar eclipses are just concentrated in that one sign. So we have an eclipse starting this year in March. We have the eclipse lunar 24 degrees of Virgo and Pisces. And then we have also in March, solar 9 degrees of Aries. This is the last one. You won't see any eclipses in Aries or the nodes or anything in Aries until 8 to 9 years after this. Okay, so wrapping up some Aries themes. Now, Aries is the sign that can rule war, and a lot of people are talking about wars currently as I'm recording this. Astrologers, we have been, unfortunately, we've been eyeballing all of this Aries stuff in the sky for years, and looking back in history at the last times that we had major shifts in energies in the sign of Aries, like how we're going to have Neptune in Aries, we're going to have Saturn in Aries, we have Chiron in Aries, and then the nodes and eclipses are wrapping up their cycles, including Aries. And if you notice right now, there's already some wars in the world. So in the US, we haven't really had that in a long time, but there could be something that is ignited. And I'm not political. I'm not take a stance, or I'm not any of that shit at all. Okay. So I don't really need anyone to start taking anything that I say with these words off in some completely crazy direction to the extreme. Okay. I'm just letting you know that astrologically, Aries is a sign of war, and I'm not fear-mongering once again, but I'm just saying, at least look out for some major changes in your country. Okay, if you're in the US, I don't really know anywhere else. I haven't lived anywhere else, let's just say that, to know the climate on a really personal level. I can only read headlines, and then you still don't even know what the hell's really going on. So I only know about where I'm physically present, which is the US. And we haven't really had any type of war stuff for a while, since maybe, excuse me, nearly 100 years ago. But I can tell you that Aries energy does ignite a lot of defense. So if anything, there could be some changes that involve defense that happen next year in 2025 because of the last eclipse in Aries, and then Saturn and Neptune are going to dip in there too. So defense can rule weapons. So that can mean on a national level, something to do with weapons can really be highlighted, weapons and defense and fighting. But also on a personal level, you being able to carry firearms and the distribution of firearms. There could be some things like that come up under this last Aries eclipse next year. And once again, the Pisces-Virgo axis, the same themes that I talked about with the nodes. There could be some breakthroughs that have to do with the medical field and with self-care. And I know self-care right now, while Uranus is in Taurus, we're just thinking about products, because Taurus is like commerce and products. But self-care can mean, it's like taking care of your body, taking care of your mental and your physical self, and your spiritual self too. That's the Pisces-Virgo axis, the axis of wellness. So we can start to see more themes to do with wellness, maybe revamping what wellness means to us. Maybe there could be some breakthroughs with accessibility to not just physical health care, but mental health care as well under this axis. And this eclipse cycle is actually an exact repeat of 2006. In 2006, we had the eclipses pretty much the same dates and the same degrees. So if you can think back and actually remember, how was your life in 2006? What was going on? What were the biggest things, the most eventful parts of your life that year? And especially your chart, your rising sign especially, think back to that. What was going on? What breakthroughs were happening? What changes? Even disasters, that these areas of life that just seem to have one after the other. And also the areas of life that you just seem to be winning and having one good thing after another happen. What was going on back then in 2006? If you were adulting during that time, it's more likely that you'll remember, more significant things that went on that can show you a little bit of insight to what may be going on in 2025. So the eclipses, so the eclipses are going to be happening in March and September. Now remember that eclipses can be seen, heard, felt, experienced up to a month before the actual eclipse date. And also the effects can last up to 6 months. So definitely check your horoscope for your rising sign to see where exactly you're impacted. The last time we had eclipses on this axis in general, not these same degrees and same signs, it's just like the Pisces and Virgo axis, was 2015 and 2000 to 2017 most recently. So once again, we're seeing repeats. 2015 to 17 are repeating themselves right now, as well as 2006 very strongly to 2007. Let's take a look at what Jupiter is doing next year. So Jupiter is the planet of headlines, okay? You guys thought I was going to say good luck and blessings. Yes, Jupiter can rule that, but also the headlines, the scandals, the biggest stories, news stories and publications and all of that. Jupiter is associated with the spreading of information. And he's in Gemini. The last time he was in Gemini was from 2012 to 2013. So he's finishing out his run through Gemini. He goes from 13 to 29 degrees, okay, this year. He's retrograde at the very beginning of the year. Jupiter retrograde can be a time period to where you can still receive some sort of good news, good luck, some blessings, some like big advancements within your life, but they may be okay. So there's like these old sayings, right, where people say, oh, blowing smoke up your ass, or people are just blowing out hot air, meaning a lot of talk but not much follow through with the talk. For example, years ago, right, I'll have to look back and say, where was Jupiter transiting for me during this year? I think it was probably in my 10th or 5th house or something like that. You guys remember that show MTV? Was it MTV's Maid? I think it was MTV's Maid. They reached out to me on social media, and this is when I was actively a hip hop dancer. I was a B-girl, so I was, or quote unquote break dancer, which a lot of people know it as. So I was a B-girl at the time, but I think I was kind of like more focused on college and school and stuff, so I couldn't really get into dancing as much as I had used to, but it was all over my social media, all my B-girl stuff, right? And so MTV Maid reached out to me. They said that they were wanted me to participate in a show or something, and I was all about it. And I reached out to them. They were like, yeah, we really want you, and we'll fly you out and all this stuff, right, to LA. So they gave me their email address. It was a lady who was the contact person, and I emailed her, and then nothing. So it seemed like it would be a grand opportunity to be on TV, right? But then there was a bunch of nothing. So Jupiter retrograde mostly can show up like that sometimes. Like, it looks like a great idea and a great opportunity, but it's all talk. It's all hot air. I mean, Jupiter in itself is made of hot air and gases. So, and that saying gas you up, like really hype you up and everything, is associated with Jupiter, and it's a sign that it rules Sagittarian type of energies. So retrograde periods, probably not the best time to accept an opportunity or expect it to go through if you do, but good stuff can still come to you during retrograde periods. So we have Jupiter retrograde twice in 2025. We start the year with it in Gemini. We end the year with it in Cancer. So Jupiter in Gemini. So far, as I'm recording this, and he's just barely dipped into Gemini. So Jupiter can rule spread of information, right? So he can be a contributing factor to trends. I always attribute the trends and the most things that are popular within fashion, pop culture, the sayings and the slang that we have to the outer planets. And I definitely want to dive more deeply into this in the future and show everybody all the cool stuff that I have found over the years that point to this direction. But Jupiter is one contributor. Now, Jupiter only stays within a sign for 1 year. So he can help enhance the popularity of certain things for that short period of time. The one thing I've noticed so far, as he just barely dipped in, being in Gemini as I'm recording this, is it's viral right now for people to say the word yap. Yapper. You're a yapper. I'm a yapper. They won't stop yapping. That's a Gemini quality. Gemini rules speaking and communication. And a lot of people that have Gemini energy, that's what they do. They talk and talk and talk and talk. Or yap. That's the slang word for talking, right? So they're known as talkers. You're a talker, honey. You just say things, whatever comes to mind. And it's just words that are just flying out and they don't really mean anything. They're not intended to stick and really mean anything. That's yapping, just la 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 constantly, right? So that's like a term that I've noticed a lot of people are using now while Jupiter is in Gemini. And Jupiter in Gemini, whatever the trends are that are going to come up right now, they're going to lead us into Uranus entering Gemini next year, which, we're going to get into as well. But they're opening the door for some Gemini trends that Uranus is going to bring to us for about 8 years, starting in 2025 as well. All right, so what are some Gemini trends? Well, what does Gemini rule? Gemini rules transportation. And also not just the trends, but the news that we're going to be hearing more about. Now, I did back in April of 2024, I believe. It was before Jupiter hit Gemini in May. I did post something on my Threads app, which I post on just randomly, sporadically. I posted about Jupiter and Gemini bringing more news about bicycles, vehicles, especially vehicles, like the production of vehicles, the sale of vehicles. Gemini also rules sales as well as vehicles. Lots of things involving transportation, your short distance travels, right? So going around your neighborhood, your city, your state, but not anything beyond that type of travel, whatever you can use to do that, even if it's some roller skates or rollerblades, okay? Gemini teens right there. So I had already read before that they're going to, at least in California, I believe they're going to try to stop and cease the production of gas-powered vehicles and start turning everything into electric by, I think the date was like 2030 or somewhere in the 2030s. And when I look at the astrology of it all, it does make sense because Uranus will be in Gemini during that time, Gemini ruling vehicles, and some major technological changes and to do with transportation are what Uranus and Gemini are going to bring. And then also the north and south nodes and the eclipses are going to be on the Gemini Sagittarius axis once again, somewhere near that time. And then we're also going to have Chiron in Taurus, which is about conservation. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some changes to do with vehicles. They want to start ceasing gas-powered vehicles, at least the production of them, and eventually turn everything into electric or whatever technology is going to come up ahead to do with hovering vehicles, that type of shit too. So Jupiter in Gemini is already bringing headlines to do with that. And I noticed about a week ago, as I'm recording this, July, maybe the end of June of 2024, that there was a headline from, I think it was like LA Times or some California US publication that said that Uber is offering $1,000 to people that are willing to leave their cars behind or something like that and only take bicycles and other forms of transportation other than their vehicles as a part of some program to this, that, and the other, right? You see, as soon as Jupiter dipped into Gemini, there we go, with vehicles and alternative modes of transportation. So we're going to continue to see that with Jupiter in Gemini. Also, people's attention spans are so damn short. It's really annoying to a lot of us. Very irritating. And short form content is definitely a Gemini thing, but also I would say a Sagittarius thing. Pluto and Sagittarius generation are the current young adults that are running things as I'm recording this. And Sagittarius wants everything to be quick and easy and microwave, and I don't have time for that shit. I'm too busy on the go. I'm running around. I'm traveling, YOLOing around and all that stuff, right? So Sagittarius wants to be able to consume information, and it's quick and easy and everything like that, right? Although Sagittarius does rule higher education and sitting down and reading some motherfucking books like thoroughly and throughout, it can also rule that I just need everything to be quick and microwave because I'm on the go type of vibe. So the Pluto and Sag generation young adults are the ones that really started initiating in that short form content to be viral and to be more of what's consumed nowadays. So yeah, Jupiter and Gemini really rules having zero attention span, Tasmanian devil brain. Your brain just acts like 50 tabs that are open up and you're toggling between each one, and then you forget about them, and then you move on, and then, oh, maybe you might jump back and like, what the hell was I thinking there? Why was I looking this up? I don't know. Moving ahead is Gemini. So attention spans are going to get shorter. Content needs to be shorter. The sped up songs and the sped up talking is going to become even more popular and probably even shorter, starting with Jupiter and Gemini. When we get to Uranus and Gemini, yeah. That's going to be, it's going to be an overdrive as far as everything being short form and just easy, quick, bite-sized microwave, and then throw it away type of stuff, right? So Jupiter and Gemini is continuing to it's going to bring more of that to the forefront. Also some trends that we may see with Jupiter and Gemini. The shift in focus is going to definitely start going off of Stanley Cups. If it hasn't already, that was a Jupiter and Taurus thing. Taurus rules beverages and consuming beverages and being able to conserve or preserve your beverages to stay cold or hot or whatever. That's a Taurus thing. So Jupiter and Taurus definitely blew up the Stanley Cups. Some of the biggest headlines and news that you'll see are going to be involving Gemini over the next year. So that can mean schooling as well. School is ruled by Gemini. At least like your primary education is ruled by Gemini. So there may be another school scandal, just like when Gemini was in Sagittarius some years back, recently, and that whole scandal came out about, what's her name? Aunt Becky from Full House. And her kids and their scandal and the people that were in her little circle getting caught up in some shit, like scamming the colleges and stuff. Yeah. So scams and scandals are going to be involving Gemini over the next year. So that can mean, once again, vehicles, primary education. So maybe some more teacher scandals might come out, unfortunately. Or maybe schools scamming people or making headlines over some ridiculous shit. Also, Gemini with trends, jewelry is Gemini, especially ones that you wear. Because Gemini rules the shoulders, the arms, and the hands, excuse me, and the lungs. So anything that has to do with those body parts, you may see headlines or trends about. So jewelry, you can wear it on your necklace. The ears, I believe, are ruled by Gemini as well. So any type of jewelry, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, rings, all of that is Gemini. So you may see more viral moments of people who have like a ton of rings and bracelets on, and they're just like using their hands to talk and stuff and making all this noise. And their nails, I know nails are already popping as a trend, and they always are for the ladies. But yeah, even like things that are like you can go back and forth between genders and or energies of masculine and feminine. Gemini possesses both. So anything that's involving like androgyny is going to start really coming into the forefront as a trend in 2025 because of Jupiter in Gemini, Uranus in Gemini, and then also Pluto in Aquarius. The air signs are very androgynous, even though they have their own modalities, they have their own elements. Air is a masculine element, but Gemini is duality. And then Aquarius is like, whatevs, I don't even care. I don't want to label myself a gender. And then Libra is feminine. It's ruled by Venus, but it's a masculine element when it comes to, like, you know, the element of air. So it's also both masculine and feminine. So because of that, oh, and also Uranus is masculine and Saturn is feminine as far as like energies and stuff too. And Aquarius is made of both. So all the air signs are like duality there. So yeah, androgyny, more androgynous hairdos, especially like a bob. Let's watch the power bob really come out, as short and shorter haircuts are really going to be trending in 2025 and beyond as well. But like they're really going to pop that year. Having short hair, little pixie cuts and bobs and all of that, and wearing lots of jewelry and wearing androgynous types of clothing are going to be the fashion trends. I'm thinking about women, but it can also apply to men. That they used to say the term metrosexual. It was a term to describe mostly Pluto and Libra generation men when they were young adults who were running the trends and stuff, like in the 90s and the early 2000s. Metrosexual was the term. Men having their eyebrows done and thinner eyebrows and all of that, that was a part of that generation. So yeah, more metrosexual, or like men just being kind of, what? Yeah, I can have my nails painted. I can get pedicures and manicures, and maybe even men wearing makeup can be more of a thing starting next year. I know it's already a thing, but we're talking about the moves, the movement of the waves that have to do with trends, things that are really, really popping into the forefront. Not just people have always done this. Oh, people have done this since the beginning of time. We're not talking about that. What is to the forefront? What are you seeing as the headlines? What are you seeing go viral? What are you seeing as popular? That's what the outer planets rule. So there's a time frame for everything. So the time frame when all of that is popping, 2025, we will see more of that. Now, when Jupiter goes into Cancer, oh my gosh, the last time Jupiter was in Cancer, that was from 2013 to 2014. We saw Jupiter in Cancer. Can anybody remember back then what was popping, what was trending? I'm so on the go, and you know what I'm saying? Working so hard right now, I can't even really remember. And back then I was working a lot too, just living that mom life, you know what I'm saying? Working a corporate job. So I can't really remember anything outside of that, to be honest with you. But if you guys remember Jupiter in Cancer, what was popping? So some trends and things and headlines that we may see with Jupiter in Cancer over the next year, 2025 through the first half of 2026. Well, what does Cancer rule? It rules homes. So something to do with homes, maybe even homelessness. Like I mentioned, maybe a homelessness reform, more of a focus there with the North Node in Pisces. And also with Saturn and Neptune dipping in and out of Pisces in 2025. Jupiter in Cancer really has empathy. My Cancer friends that I have, if you tell them that you have an issue with, like, you don't have a home, if someone says, oh, I don't have a home, I'm homeless, or there's an issue with me being able to have a home, they get so emotional and have so much empathy. It's just crazy, but that's what Cancer rules. Having your shell, your sanctuary, your comfort zone, where you go home and you lay your head and you have your snacks and all of that. Cancer rules cooking. So anything that's culinary to do with cooking, you may see some headlines about that. Cancer rules family, specifically mothers, babies, pregnant women. So we may see some more news and headlines to do with pregnancy. We have that going on already right now, with headlines to do with women's rights when it comes to terminating pregnancies. And there is going to definitely be more of that comes up next year, over the next year and a half. Let's just say that year and a half to 2 years, there's going to be some changes there, definitely. and headlines, big headlines to do with also the nuclear family, the structure of family. We're going to see people talk about that a lot more. And the whole trad wife trend that's going on right now, I think it'll pop up again, or there's just going to be more talks about it that are more widespread. If you don't know what trad wife is, it's, you know how everybody abbreviates everything these days. Nobody wants to fucking type or talk. It's annoying. But traditional wife, it's short for traditional wife, meaning you're wifey, you're looking cute in a little dress, and you're in the kitchen all day, you're cooking and cleaning, and you're cooking for your kids and your husband, and it's from scratch. Like, shout out to Nara Smith. She's making that whole thing pop right now. And I definitely believe that Nara has either some Cancerian energy in her chart or equivalent, or Taurus, because of her ASMR voice and the food and all of that. And she has very full lips, which is a Taurus trait, but also a Cancer trait. So she's definitely got those energies somehow, somewhere in her chart in the mix, very strong. But she's been trending, and I think it's probably because she does have some Taurus in the mix, and Uranus is still in Taurus as I'm recording this. Jupiter was there for a whole year, so she really blew up. And now there's a lot of talk about the trad wife stuff and how, oh my God, it's so horrendous, and oh God, ugh, yuck, we're modern women, we don't want to do any of that. Well, conversations about that are going to come up again to the forefront with Jupiter in Cancer. But yeah, the nuclear family, mom, dad, and children, and their dog, and the white picket fence in the little house in the suburbs. And how does that look now? You know, maybe some encouragement to go back to that. Maybe just some talk about what it means for us now in this modern, like, Pluto and Aquarius age that we're going into. What does a nuclear family look like? What should a family look like wherever you're at? You know, so there's a lot of talk about family, motherhood, mothers, pregnancy, babies. And also Cancer is hotels, it's real estate, it's housing in general. So yes, definitely some things to do with housing. I mentioned that already with the homelessness, with North Node and Pisces tagging along, and also Uranus and, Neptune and Saturn are going to be in Pisces still too, with Jupiter in Cancer. So Cancerian themes, what else does it rule? Cancer rules the breasts and the chest and the stomach. So I don't know if there's going to be maybe some trends that are popular with fashion that have to do with those areas of the body. Maybe like stomach tattoos with belly chains. Those have been around for a while. I remember they were super poppin'. Janet Jackson, when she had that That's the Way Love Goes video back in the early 90s. I think they probably became a thing. I wasn't old enough at that time to wear any of that. But I would imagine that's what comes to mind as, you know, a music person. Since I was born, I do remember that being something that she wore, a belly chain. And I do see women already right now in this current time, before Jupiter hits Cancer, wearing belly chains. But I'm just saying what you may see and hear about even more widespread amongst different groups of people, maybe women and men, not just one specific area of the country or world or certain gender or certain skin color wearing this stuff. I mean, like, it goes popular and viral, you know, because the transits affect us worldwide, not just in our own country or city or neighborhood. So we may see some popularity with some things like that. So that's going to be the Jupiter cycle. Just remember, it's the headlines, it's trends, what's popular, what we're hearing about the most, but also it's like an expansion upon, I compare Jupiter to like a projector, right? You look at your little phone screen every day and look at information, but Jupiter is like a projector on a wall, and it's huge, and it blows everything up to where we can all see it during that period of time that it's in a sign. So it's not just our own individual little vision to see things, it's like widespread as Jupiter. So look for the Gemini and Cancer themes to really come up during that time. So now let's check out what Saturn is doing. Saturn is also switching signs, switching gears. He goes from Pisces into Aries and then back again into Pisces to finish out the year. So what does this mean for us? Well, he's finishing up his run through Pisces. What does Saturn represent? Saturn, as I mentioned before, is reform. It's structuring or restructuring things, especially during his retrograde period. Saturn, especially retrograde, Saturn makes you go back and finish things and complete things properly and thoroughly to where you may have missed steps. Like, oop, missed a step, oop, missed a step. Saturn rules buildings and architecture and construction. So Saturn being in the sign of Pisces, we are reconstructing and constructing certain things. So once again, I mentioned music and the music industry earlier, a reform of the music industry and people getting paid their worth and value. Saturn rules you putting your foot down to get paid your worth and your value, making sure that people see you and know you. It rules accolades. It rules status. It rules like being a boss, being a CEO, having a grand title of some is Saturn. So definitely continuation of things to do with music and the music industry, with film and the film industry. I feel like with Saturn wrapping up his run through Pisces and dipping into Aries, which rules identity and the self, that there's going to be even more things that come up while these transits are going on along with Pluto and Aquarius, which is technology and AI. We are going to have to start trademarking ourselves. That is going to begin a huge movement of that and need for that starting in 2025. Your identity, protecting it, protecting your likeness, making sure that your likeness is protected by, I don't know, they may have to come out with some devices, some laws, some rules that help to bring that in. This is making me think of, like, unfortunately, we're probably going to begin the cycle of, in some areas of the world where they want to microchip you, or you have, like, for example, I saw recently that very soon, if not already, in some areas, you can start carrying your driver's license or your ID around, maybe even your passport digitally, like in your phone. You know how with Apple phones you have your wallet and you can have all your cards and memberships and stuff in there. You can start including your driver's license or ID in there too. So there's going to be some advancements with that, but there's going to be more than likely some bumps in the road, because Pisces rules loss of self, right? And giving the self away. And Pisces is associated with theft, and so like thievery and deceit. People playing a role of someone else that they're not. That's why Pisces is one ruling sign of acting. So there's not only going to be some sort of reform, some sort of like rules and laws and stuff put into place for actors themselves, but also us just regular schmegler everyday people. We're going to have to start really protecting our identities and our likenesses. And yeah, the digital stuff may be available, but there's going to be some bugs to work out though. So we definitely want to be careful, be aware. So as I mentioned before, Aries is the ruler of the self, the body, the identity. And we're having this at the same time that Chiron is still in Aries. Chiron stays in a sign, I believe it's about 8 years or so that it stays in a sign. So we've already been dealing with this, but now we have some more major energy shifts into the sign of Aries. So, you know, that's just definitely going to be a huge thing, you guys, that we're going to have to look out for and be prepared for. The last time that Saturn was in Pisces, let's see, Saturn was in Pisces last from 1996 to 1999. It's just only like the first couple of months of 1999. So during that time we had Saturn. No, that was when it was in Aries. I'm sorry. When it was in Pisces, it was before that, like 1994, 93, 94 up until 1996. So that was Saturn in Pisces. So yeah, but Saturn, if you can remember back then, if you were alive, if you were adulting or whatever, what was going on in your world, if you have any planets in Pisces, you know, you can think back to 28 to 30 years ago, what was going on. But then also we have to do the same thing with Aries. It only gets up to 1 degree of Aries in 2025. But yeah, the last time it was there, where it's going to be in 2025, was in 1996. It was in 1996. So what was going on in your life if you were alive in 96? But yeah, just mostly the Pisces and Aries themes that I'm thinking of are to do with identity. Those are the biggest things. And also, like I mentioned earlier, firearms. We're going to start having some changes with firearms, our ability to carry, to possess, and something to do with weapons, like your country's defenses. Saturn and Aries is going to be bringing that on. So Saturn is about putting up boundaries. And while it's in Pisces, Pisces does not know boundaries. So a lot of us are having to learn that more. Putting up boundaries between ourselves and others, and not letting so much of our information be known out there as much. There's just so much that can go along with. I think a lot about how, at least over here in the Western world where I'm at, we humans interact with each other in this fantasy light. We just, a lot of humans, they are so fixated on social media being reality. But I feel like starting next year in 2025, we're going to start getting some reality checks with that. And something could possibly be taken away while Pluto is in Aquarius, which I'm not going to get into Pluto in Aquarius because it doesn't change signs. It stays in Aquarius for over the next 18, 19 years or so. So I'm not going to talk about it singly, but just mentioning it. Pluto in Aquarius. Wow. Yeah, it's technology, and it's the advancement of technology and AI and all of that stuff, right? But social media is ruled by Aquarius. So I feel like there's going to be some sort of, Pluto is power and it's also destruction. There's going to be some destruction or something to do with powers that be that mess with social media and the internet, like access to it, something like that. But I feel like we're going to get some reality checks when it comes to just perceiving each other as just these avatars only, or for the most part, and not valuing each other as real humans. I think something is coming with that. And Saturn in Pisces, I feel like is giving us some lessons about that, about viewing each other in, like, whatever you perceive about someone in your imagination is truth. Hell nah. That is so annoying about this day and age with Neptune and Pisces, especially. I blame Neptune and Pisces for this bullshit, guys. Like, it's just very annoying for those of us that are still real humans, and it's definitely going to be a time of just, I think a lot of people may start to not boycott social media in the years to come, possibly starting with 2025, but just get off of it. Just get off of it and go back to face, and I own my identity and I own my image. Even the image that you have of me, I want to be in more control of what that is, of what you're seeing and you're perceiving. Because think about it. Right now, what do a lot of people do? They post pictures online and the picture could be from like 10 years ago, and people are going to just look at the photo and run with their imaginations of that is you right now, and this is how you are, and this is how you must live, and this is how you probably act. They compute all of this bullshit in their heads that couldn't be further from the truth. For example, I think it was last year, I posted this memory of mine from a few years prior of me being at the beach. And I wrote, even I wrote on it. I put like memories or something, and oh, I wish I could be here again right at this moment instead of whatever I was doing. So a friend messaged me, and I messaged him back, and then he replied something to do with, oh, I would ask you to hang out, but you're at the beach right now. Bruh. Are you serious? That was 2 years ago. I didn't even respond. I just thought it was so stupid. It was an example of the stupid that goes on with just your perception and your imagination and just running with them. And it's not reality. I think there's going to be a lot more that starts to come up in 2025 about what reality really is. What it really is, because Aries is starting the cycle all over again with just the real raw cave people humans. The rawest versions of ourselves. When we are first born, naked, bucket naked to the world, in our natural form, that is what Aries rules. It's not all these filters and all this imaginative stuff that we create, these cartoon versions of ourselves online. Aries is not that at all. So if we don't have a drastic shift next year, like in the movie WALL-E, that I love to use it as an example of now and what's ahead, to where, remember when everything was shut down and the humans had to get off of their scooter things that they were on with screens, and they had to look at each other outside of screens and actually touch each other and go down to the beach and touch the water and touch real fucking ground. If it's not something that just snaps automatically in 2025 that makes us all do that, there's a beginning of the talks and the conversations and maybe rules or laws implemented, because Saturn is the authoritas, right? That are going to come up, that's going to ban filters, ban certain things to do with social media. You're going to have to really, like how some apps, including Facebook, and like the dating apps too, they require you to submit a copy of your ID to prove who you are. There's a lot of, like, I do a lot of gig work apps, right? And in order to work on them, because it's just all electronic, you don't go in person to meet the manager and the CEO. You don't do it's all just digital. How can they trust you are who you really are? So what you have to do is, yes, you have to submit a copy of your driver's license or your ID. And you have to also periodically take photos of yourself in the moment. They will request you to take a selfie to prove that you are you. So I feel like we might have social media apps start to do some of the same things to protect people from being fooled about who. You won't really be able to hide behind all the avatars and all the weird screen names and stuff as much anymore. I feel like Saturn and Aries is going to start kicking some ass with that. That's just a little small prediction that I have. We'll see if it really happens, but I just feel like just doing the astrological math, things may start going in that direction, especially because Saturn and Aries is going to sextile Pluto in Aquarius. And that's the internet, that's social media, that's technology. So things to do with your identity. What was lost or lacked boundaries with it will now have boundaries. You can't just be anyone and anything online anymore after Saturn leaves Pisces and Neptune leaves Pisces especially. So you're going to have to, there's going to be something that's going to start that has to do with us being our real, true, raw human selves with Saturn and Aries. So once again, we're wrapping up Saturn and Pisces. We're diving into Saturn, dipping into, not diving yet, is 0 to 1 degrees. That's it. But you will still see some Aries themes come up. Once again, weapons, fighting, protection, war, all of that stuff can be some themes that come up along with identity. Identity is going to be the biggest thing, though, worldwide, I believe. Now, wherever Saturn is transiting at in your chart, whatever house you have Pisces in, whatever house that you have Aries in, that's how you're going to know what's most effective for you. But Saturn in general, for you personally, is a bringer of lessons, and could be difficulty and strife, but I mean, it's to lead you to better. It's Saturn's energy is like a strict parent or mentor that they'll tell you when your shit is trash that you're doing. But that's tough love to make you go back and relearn and polish up and master something. So it's going to switch gears next year. So you're going to have a wrap up of Saturn, wherever Pisces is at in your chart, with him kicking your ass. And he's going to give you a medal, a gold medal, and pat you on the head, and then kick you in your ass to send you on your way in the realm of Pisces. And then welcome to the boot camp of Saturn and Aries for 2.5 years. So next, let's talk about Uranus. Where is he at next year? He's also changing signs. Okay, so Uranus is the bringer of also the trends. What's hot and popping and popular and virality in itself. Social media and the internet and themselves are ruled by the planet Uranus. So we can see all of that with what sign that it's in for 8 years. So we've had Uranus in Taurus since 2018. And it's going to completely leave Taurus in 2026 because that's that 8-year mark. But it's going to dip into Gemini. Just like Saturn changing signs, it's going to dip in there for just 1 degree. But we are going to start to see some Gemini themes come up when that happens. So from January through July of 2025, Uranus is still in Taurus, trying to wrap up his cycle through there. Uranus and Taurus, oh my gosh, could and should do a whole entire video. I did actually do one, like a master class on Uranus and Taurus for Astrolata back in 2018, I think it was. I'll have to ask her if that's still available. Maybe we can look back on it and share it, But anyway, this transit started back then, and what are the Taurus themes and trends that we have seen so far? Taurus rules money. Taurus rules products. It's self-care. It's perfume and makeup and food. Taurus is, money, finance. And on the body, it rules the lips, the lower half of the face, the mouth itself, not just the lips, but the whole entire mouth. It's your 5 senses being, and the pleasing of the 5 senses, what caters to your 5 senses, whether that is sounds or tastes or whatever. Taurus energy is soft. It's about coziness and comfort and security. So what are the trends that we have seen that are in relation to any of the Taurus stuff? Well, what went viral as far as the mouth? Lip fillers, lip injections, whatever. The Kylie lip kit, I think, was a little before Uranus went into Taurus, but still, like anything to do with the lips, she started it. I'm pretty sure the Kar-Jenners have astrologers on their team, no doubt about it. So she helped to usher that trend in, but it really popped on a more global scale when Uranus went into Taurus. Also, just the mouth itself, like people getting veneers, that's Uranus and Taurus, along with Pluto in Capricorn. Capricorn rules the teeth. Taurus rules the mouth. So getting those chiclet teeth, you're having your whole mouth reconstructed to make it go along with the trends, is Uranus and Taurus. The beards. The men having those big bushy ass beards, the troll beards. Women loving the men with the beards and them being such a trend is Uranus and Taurus, because Taurus rules the lower half of the face. Also, self-care. All the self-care products, all the TikToks, all the YouTube videos, all the Instagram reels and posts to do with self-care products, things that smell good, perfume, all the viral TikTok and YouTube perfume videos. Before that, it was makeup, right? And it was when Uranus was in Aries, along with Neptune and Pisces, and Aries rules the whole head and the whole head and the face in general. And doing things that are extreme and different and odd could be Uranus. So doing odd, extreme things with your entire face So more procedures becoming popular and stuff like that were Uranus and Aries. And then extreme makeup was Uranus and Aries. Then with Taurus, Taurus is about nature. It rules nature. You know, look at Earth Day being when the sun first steps into Taurus every year. So more natural looks, soft glam, and all of that was Uranus and Taurus. And yeah, buying products, perfume. Now everybody does perfume videos. Anyone who tries to do makeup videos, that used to do makeup videos, they're not going to pop. But throw some fragrances and self-care products, body care, self-care. You're going to blow up. You're going to go viral. You're going to make tons of money and have tons of followers. And also cozy gear, wearing like sweats, two-piece outfits that are matching, and you buy them and they're muted colors, and you buy them in every color available, and you wear the same shit all the time. That's Taurus trends as well. The thick lashes and the thick eyebrows, all of that is Taurus. Taurus rules that type of a look. Having that somber look on your face when you take photos rather than smiling is Taurus. Uranus and Taurus trends. Foodies, all the foodie channels and the foodie Instagrammers and TikTokers and YouTubers, and those people that are foodie influencers, and they go to all the restaurants and they get freebies because they have a large following, and they'll post a little 2-second choppy video of them at that place and say, it's amazing, it's the best food I've ever tried. That is Uranus and Taurus. Food trucks and lots of food businesses have boomed and popped during Uranus and Taurus, especially ones that are unique and different, have a different ambiance about them, and environment and decor, and also fusion, like when their cuisine is fusion. That's all been Uranus and Taurus. Now, where Uranus is at in your own personal world in the sign of Taurus, of course, look at your chart, look at your rising sign. This is where you have had the most extreme ups and downs in your life over the last 7 to 8 years. Extreme ups and downs, and it's hard to maintain stability. So if this is in a job sector of your chart over the last 7 to 8 years, it's probably been hard for you to hold down one job and just be there for this whole period of time. A lot of you guys probably have not been able to achieve that. And if you have, kudos, but you've probably been moved around different departments, different positions, different duties, different titles, maybe even gone back and forth to the same company. You quit so you could be an entrepreneur, then you went back. There's been some in and out, off and on, wishy-washy shit going on wherever Taurus is at in your chart, right? Taurus rules money, and Uranus is technology, so cryptocurrency and any types of electronic payments, us moving into more of a cashless society has all been Uranus and Taurus that has been ushering this in. So now we have Uranus shifting into Gemini July 7th. He goes retrograde from September to the beginning of November, and then he goes back into Taurus to finish out the year. But Uranus and Gemini for a few months. Ooh, the Gemini shit's going to be on overdrive. Oh my gosh. So yes, the no attention span, if any at all. It may be very short and only 2 seconds long, 1 second long. That's going to be kicked into overdrive. All right. So short form content is definitely going to be the way. No one is going to want long form content unless, podcasting is a Uranus and Taurus thing. People sitting and listening to others talk, listening to their voices. Your voice is ruled by Taurus. That boomed with Uranus and Taurus. Everyone got in front of a microphone. Microphones are ruled by Taurus. Well, a microphone is technology, which is Uranus, and then your voice, which is Taurus, right? So that's why everybody and their moms and their cats have a fucking podcast. But short form content is Uranus and Gemini. If you have a podcast, your content is going to have to start being super short once we step into this energy. People are not going to want to sit and listen to long, drawn out anything. We're going to have Jupiter and Uranus and shit. Nobody's going to have a fucking attention span. Nobody. And if you do, you're going to be left behind. Going back to the podcasts and videos of yesteryear, just a couple years before. What happened to long form content? Bitch, it went bye-bye with Uranus and Jupiter and Gemini. Deuces. Nobody wants to hear it. It's going to be old school. And so yeah, Uranus is broadcasting. So broadcasting is definitely going to go through a huge change. Aquarius is broadcasting. Uranus and Gemini trine, not sextile, but trine to Pluto in Aquarius. A lot of the mainstream radio is going to go bye-bye as well and start depleting in popularity. So I think we're still going to be able to maintain our individual broadcasts and stuff, right? I feel like Saturn and then Pluto, Saturn in Aries, and then also like Pluto in Aquarius, I feel like we'll start to try to control people and their podcasts and what they can say. They'll, put some control on it. But we're still going to continue to try, to be able to be individually having our own broadcasts, but there's going to be just a lot more changes to it that are going to happen. As I mentioned with Jupiter and Gemini, the Uranus trends with Gemini, what do they rule? What does Gemini rule? Gemini, once again, it's the shoulders, it's the arms, it's the hands, it's the lungs, not the chest itself, but the lungs and breathing. It's talking, it's communication, it's vehicles, bicycles, skateboards, rollerblades, roller skates. It's taking public transportation. So like when you ride the bus, local, it's all local stuff, right? Local transportation. If there's a train that you take that's local, all of that is Gemini. So that's all going to start going through major shifts and changes over the next 8 years or so. So yes, vehicle production, more technology implemented into vehicles. More like vehicles that are run by computer and all of that. Yes, that's going to start really amping up. And encouragement of people to take other forms of transportation. Yes, that's going to start amping up in 2025. Influencing and encouraging people to ride bicycles. And speaking of influencing, Uranus rules influencers. That's why the Uranus and Neptune generation of young adults, they created the term influencer and that whole culture, right? Being able to make money off of just putting a camera in your face and doing practically nothing most of the time, but still moving the waves and the trends and the masses and all of that, masses of people. That's all Aquarian and Uranian. So having a massive follower count and that being your value is Aquarius and Uranus. So there's going to be some changes there, most definitely. Now, where was I going with that? Oh, one of the trends that the influencers are going to come out with. So first of all, as I mentioned earlier, jewelry and nails are going to be more of the thing. Perfume, not so much. Makeup, not so much. It's going to be more about the pixie cuts, the bobs, a clean, youthful look. And so like looking like a fairy or a nymph or an elf or a gnome, all of that is Gemini stuff right there. So a clean makeup look that's minimal, and you may have lashes, but they're not the big snuffleupagus caterpillar things with Uranus and Taurus. It's like flirty, thin lashes that you can bat, and you can have this girlish or boyish look that's very innocent. That's more of the Uranus and Gemini trend. And so if makeup is on, it's light colors, the color light green. Light greens and yellows are going to be more popular and trendy. And androgyny, like I mentioned before, androgyny with this transit along with Pluto and Aquarius, androgyny, very thin eyebrows, if any eyebrows at all, are going to be trending in fashion. And being a yapper, talking a lot. Yes, that's on trend, on brand. Also, bicycles. People are going to be making trendy shit about their bicycles. Like, the videos that go viral are going to be like, watch me trick out my bike. There might be a re-emergence of something to do with like Pimp My Ride, like how Pimp My Ride was popular back in the 2000s. Well, cars are ruled by Gemini, so there might be something like that they bring back. but it's going to be more modern day, and the shit is not going to fall apart when you drive away. Like, hopefully, because I heard that that's what happened with Pimp My Ride, is it was just all like a bunch of stuff just for the show, and then when they drove away, like one person, their car caught on fire and shit because the technology in there, like, it just short circuited or something, right? Since it was not meant to be fully functional, it was all for show. So yeah, Uranus and Gemini, tricking out your car, that's going to go viral, even more viral. I know people already post about it now and do it now, but like what's really ahead of the game, ahead of everybody and making the money is going to be vehicles and bicycles and, public transportation and doing videos on those. Yeah, those are just I can go on and on. I'll probably make a video about Uranus and Gemini on its own. But those are just like a few of the trends that I feel like will come up and topics that will come up under this transit. We can expect to see a lot more of Northwest. She's not going anywhere. She's going to get super popular starting, if not the last half of 2024, then definitely in 2025, because she is a Gemini rising and a Gemini sun. So whenever Jupiter transits your first house, you get a lot of opportunities. You can be seen and heard and known a little bit more too, but especially Uranus, because that's the planet of virality and the world, the whole entire galaxy being able to see you and know you, right? Jupiter is like world exposure, other countries knowing who you are and stuff. Uranus is really like the entire fucking existence of creatures that are living know who you are. So we can expect Northwest to start blowing up with her music career in 2025, if not the last half of 2024. And if you are a Gemini yourself, Gemini sun, moon, or rising, definitely check out your horoscope for 2025 because, listen, this is really going to be a crazy time for you that you need to be prepared for. Crazy in good ways and bad ways. I give it to you straight either way. Uranus and Gemini, woo, yes, it's going to be a time. It's going to be a time. So look to where your houses in your chart have Taurus and Gemini. There's going to be a back and forth, a wrapping up of the Taurus stuff, the changes within that area of life. Uranus will give you one last zap and buzz of electricity and change, and whoop, so you thought, bitch. Now you're over here in the opposite end of the world. Oh, wow, you got comfortable there? Boop. Nope, now you're not. Haha, what are you going to do about it? One last run of that through Taurus, where that's in your chart, and then get ready for the wild ride through Gemini over the next 8 years. So Neptune is another planet that switches signs next year, or at least dips its toe into a new sign and is trying to finish out the ride through the previous sign next year. Wow, so we have Jupiter. Well, Jupiter changes signs every year, once a year. It only stays in a sign for 1 year and comes back around once every 12 years. Saturn, once every 28 years. So Saturn is switching signs next year, which is a big deal. Uranus is once every 84 years it comes around to a sign, so that's a big deal with it switching signs. And then we have Neptune. Neptune is once every 14 years it changes signs, and once every roughly around 168 years is when you'll see it back in the same sign again. So you can go through Saturn returns, through Jupiter returns, through your Uranus return once if you're lucky enough to live around age 84, but you will never see your Neptune return. Okay, so Neptune switching signs is a big deal. Now, Neptune is the ruler of the sign of Pisces, so it's been in its home sign since around 2011, 2012. And we have seen so much. I am a Pisces moon, and Pisces is ruled by Neptune. And so I have noticed, because this is like a home energy to me, I've noticed in great detail the effects that it has had on humanity. Okay. For example, Neptune in Pisces, once again, as I mentioned in the beginning, when we were talking about the nodes and the eclipses, Pisces is music and video and photography. And we saw the surge in popularity with Instagram, right? First, Instagram was something that you just shared your photos. It wasn't about sharing words like Facebook. It was strictly just photos. And then they started allowing videos. And now everything is Instagram reels that are 2 seconds long. And going live, they brought that feature so you could see people live on video. So the surge in popularity, the emergence of video being everywhere, everyone being on camera, and the technology with phones. Well, when we had Uranus and Aquarius, we had the abilities to go online on our phones. And like just cell phones in general, the technology advancing. And then when we had Uranus in Pisces, Uranus entering the sign of Pisces, that really brought about the camera phones, right? The ability to take photos on your phone. And then video eventually. So Neptune in Pisces really took it to a whole other level. Now everyone has their face in a camera. And also now everyone is a videographer or a photographer, which is annoying for people like me who have been doing this shit since way back before it was a trend. Even when I was a little kid, I was carrying around a camera, a film camera, and then eventually disposable cameras. I always had them on deck, and then digital cameras, I would take them out with me when I was going out in my, early going out years, and always take embarrassing pictures and video, put them on MySpace and shit. You know what I'm saying? I've been on this from the jump, and other fellow artists of mine and peers of mine in the arts. Yeah. We're kind of a little bit annoyed at this whole Neptune and Pisces trend of everyone being on camera and video, and everyone saying that they're professional, and everyone getting paid, and it's not as exclusive anymore. It's a trend. Same thing with astrology and tarot and different forms of divination and spirituality. Neptune rules that. Pisces rules all of that. So that's why, thank goodness, you guys are able to find people like myself and other great astrologers and other great tarot readers and other types of readers and information about all this spiritual stuff and the occult and all of that because of Neptune and Pisces. It's definitely a blessing. But the annoying part is just the trend and the spread of misinformation, which Neptune and Pisces can rule generally, no matter what the topic or subject. Pisces rules the imagination. Neptune in its home sign, everyone's minds are just ruled by their imaginations and their own perception and running with what they think they see. And this has been very irritating and annoying as well. So Neptune in Pisces, yes, it's brought about a lot of great changes within music and art and everything, some advancements there, some more availability and accessibility with music and art, and it's changed movies. It's Neptune at the last degrees of Pisces are definitely helping with the whole AI thing as well. Partnered with Pluto being in Aquarius. So, I mean, it's brought some very interesting things, good and bad, depending upon how you see things and how you're affected or whatever. Neptune and Pisces, everyone has had pets forever and ever and ever, but I've noticed like there's a lot more. Like, for example, if someone who's on the dating apps, you notice I've noticed like every guy has a dog in the picture. Everyone's like more introverted now, and just about having a pet and being home with their pet is like the thing. Uranus and Taurus paired with Neptune and Pisces has made us more introverted and made it okay to be introverted and to be less social in person, that is. And for it to be socially, I mean, it's more acceptable for you to be socially awkward, and people don't really pressure you as much. Now you can come out and say, well, I have mental health issues and I'm socially awkward, so leave me alone. I don't have to go outside or anything. And with Uranus and Taurus ruling commerce, and Uranus is technology and the internet, now you can just order all of your groceries online. Any of your materials, anything that you need, you can order it online, and it can be delivered to your house, so you don't have to leave your house if you are socially awkward or have mental issues or something. So Neptune and Pisces made more awareness come to that, but also it puts like waves of like a spell over humanity almost. And so a lot of people, even if you're not like seriously diagnosed with a serious issue, you're just a regular, pretty, regular mentally functioning person, you're still feeling the effects of the spell that Neptune and Pisces has over us, with your imagination running wild and ruling over logic sometimes, and with being a little bit more quiet, nonverbal, looking at photos and video and using that as a way to decipher a person, something about a person outside of yourself. Everybody's running with that now, running with all of that. And so, and to be just like I said, at home with your plants, Uranus and Taurus, or your pet, Neptune and Pisces, a lot of people just became comfortable with just being in their own company. Neptune and Pisces both rule isolation. So that can mean to the extreme, like prison, being imprisoned, being hospitalized. It can rule working in labs or working jobs to where you are just in your own head, in your own world, and not bothered by other human beings. So Neptune and Pisces paired with Uranus and Taurus, which is work and making money. And then along with Saturn and Aquarius that we had a few years back in 2020, really, and Pluto and Capricorn destroying the old corporate structures, really brought about remote work. So Neptune and Pisces made it okay to be kind of antisocial. So we're wrapping that up, and like I mentioned earlier, just the spread of false information is the thing that really gets me with Neptune and Pisces. Anyone can be anything online, on the internet, and I think that once we get into these planets in Aries, there's going to be some shifts and changes there. You're going to have to prove yourself that you are who you are. Unfortunately, with Neptune ruling deception and imagery and imagery based on imagination and false and creation, Neptune in Aries is going to, on a negative side, assist in more identity theft, and cause us to put up more boundaries and restrictions with ourselves, with our identities, and all the AI versions of ourselves that could be created to say different things and be on video, and it's not even us. Someone created that, and then to be falsely accused of things and blamed for things that we didn't even do. We weren't even present. That's not really me. That's not reality. That's not my physical body. That's not my real voice. It sounds like my voice, but it's not me. That type of thing is going to run wild with Neptune and Aries. So the identity stuff is definitely real, and we're going to have to really step up some things, to protect ourselves. Aries is, Neptune is what we are fantasizing about as a collective. And like I said, we're kind of under like the enchantment of something wherever Neptune is at. So if it's in Aries, once again, what does Aries rule? Aries is not just like guns and stuff like I mentioned earlier, weaponry. Neptune can be associated with the trends as well. I mean, we're coming up out of Neptune and Pisces, which brought us makeup and, camera and video and all of that, right? Excuse me. Extreme makeup, to where you look totally like someone else or like some other character or something like that. That is Neptune and Pisces, no doubt. So, and even some of the trendy words like main character energy, do it for the plot. Last night was a movie. My life is a movie. A lot of those are some words that are associated with Neptune and Pisces trends. And then giving. It's giving. That is Neptune and Pisces. It's serving is Uranus and Taurus, because Taurus rules food, I guess. It rules food. But serving, I guess that could be Neptune and Pisces, because it's like giving service. I don't know. Like service can be associated with Pisces, like giving oneself and being charitable. So those are some little buzzwords from Neptune and Pisces. Aries is the self. So me, it's all about me. Aries is athleticism. It's the physical body in itself. I think we're going to start stepping into an era to where athleisure, wearing athleisure is going to be a thing. Again, it's already a thing now. I understand that. And Uranus and Aries from 2011 to 2018-ish. Uranus and Aries brought that to more popularity, the athleisure wear and stuff like that. But when we get to Neptune and Aries, as far as makeup, which Neptune can rule, this is another contributing factor to, besides Uranus and Gemini, to us being more barefaced, shiny, glowy skin, looking like you're sweating and you're fresh out of the gym. That is Neptune and Aries, the look. Okay. I would say androgyny more so with women, because Aries is a masculine sign. It rules having muscles and being kind of rough and all of that, the G.I. Jane type of vibes. So for women, it's going to make us more into looks that are androgynous or more masculine. I think for men, there can be some trends that come about over the next 14 years that make men more on their masculinity journey, quote unquote, along with Saturn being in Aries for 2.5 years. Uranus and Gemini, it's not completely masculine, but it can still be kind of a contributor. But just like how most, if not all, the outer planets for big chunks of time over the last decade or so have been all in feminine signs. So women have been on our femininity journey, self-care and all of that, and journaling and all that shit is Neptune and Pisces combined with Uranus and Taurus mostly, right? And then on top of that, we have Pluto and Capricorn, which is a big boss energy, but Capricorn is earth. Earth energy is feminine energy. And then, so those are the biggest ones, right? The longer term transiting planets. And then, of course, Jupiter stepped in, every other year it would be in a feminine sign to help contribute to all of that. Now, all of the outer planets are going to shift into masculine signs. Neptune and Saturn in Aries, and then Uranus in Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini also for part of 2025. I feel like men are going to, or I hope actually, as a feminine woman who is hetero, I surely hope men are going to start going on their little masculinity journeys. Okay, because we all are affected by the outer planets, and as women and feminine beings have been receiving all of this feminine energy and thriving in our femininity with it, men have been also thriving within it, but it's unnatural for masculine beings to have, it's like they have this imbalance of feminine energy. And I'm teaching a class, another shameless plug, on July 16th for Nadia Shah. And you can also purchase the replay of it as well. But it's going to be on dating and in the modern age and astrology, and some of these explanations of all this stuff and these shifts I will discuss in that class. So I'm not going to get too deep into it here, but definitely join the class if you are watching this during the time that class is available. If not, like I said, hit me up for the replay if you're listening to this somewhere further in the future from July of 2024. However, jumping back, men, masculine beings, there's like an overwhelming feminine energy presence in the sky right now, and so it's kind of thrown them off a little bit. So I think things will start to shift and they'll get more into balance with Neptune and Aries. Aries is also an obsession with vehicles. Vehicles are Gemini, but I've noticed that especially fast cars, motorcycles, anything that's loud and fast is ruled by Aries. So a lot of people that I know, even like men who have Venus in Aries, right? They may be Taurus and Pisces and their other planets, but they have Venus in Aries. They are really into vehicles and cars, loud cars, especially ones with those engines that rev up and make a lot of noise. Even women who have, I know someone close to me who has Mars in Aries. She's a very girly girl, but she is in a car club, always has been into cars. So once again, Neptune and Aries, I feel like it's something to do with cars that are going to be really to the forefront, especially gasoline. I feel that gasoline is ruled by Neptune because Neptune rules chemicals and stuff like that, and gas can be counted as a chemical. So also with Aries being war and Neptune being chemicals, and also invasive, um, creatures, invasive things like bacteria are ruled by Neptune. So that's also why we had the Rona come about while Neptune was in Pisces. We had the pandemic because we were all hit with a wave of, being more sensitive to that bacteria, that virus. So that's why that happened. It's one contributing factor to that. But Neptune in Aries, Aries ruling the body, Aries ruling war, and then chemical. There could be something going on over the next 14 years with chemical warfare or germicide. So we definitely need to protect ourselves and watch out for that. But the obsessions, the things that we are enchanted by, are going to be cars, weapons, working out, taking care of your body, more of a sweaty, fresh from the gym look. Women may start to abandon all this or some of the feminine self-care and makeup and product stuff that we have been so obsessed with, literally obsessed, right? Literally obsessed with over the last several years, and start getting into more minimalistic things, natural things, especially when we have Chiron move into Taurus sometime over the next couple of years, along with some of these other planets. More minimalizing your look. And and muscular body types, more boyish looks, with women. But if it's not the boyish thing, it is like muscle tone, being toned up is going to be more to the forefront. As far as body type trends, they're ruled by the outer planets as well. So Aquarius is a sign of being tall, thin, and lanky. Aries is not necessarily tall energy, but it is muscular and masculine. And then Gemini is short and thin and wispy, waif, whatever. That's Gemini. So the trend of being very thin is going to come back, but sprinkle in some muscular muscle tone and stuff like that, even for women, and with the Aries energy, and that's going to start coming back. So you're a big, fine, thick girl, everything being thick, your lashes being thick, your eyebrows being thick, your body being thick, the BBL, all that shit is going out the window. Trust and believe 2025 is going to usher in some brand new trends with how you look, what your body looks like, what people are finding to be attractive, what's viral, what's in if magazines are even around anymore, because Pluto and Aquarius, right? It's destroying a lot of our publications that are not digital. So whatever your publications are, where you get your news, your social media outlets that you look at or whatever, where you see the looks that people have, they're going to shift more towards alien chic, which is like this narrow on the bottom head, and it's like bigger at the top. Big heads, something to do with people having bigger heads are going to be, and foreheads and stuff are going to be popping because of Pluto and Aquarius having an alien head, and then Neptune in Aries, and then Saturn there for a little bit too. But yeah, having a big alien head is going to be popping somehow. Alien chic, having no eyebrows and a big ass head and forehead showing. Maybe the baby bangs. Baby bangs are Aquarius. So having a big ass head, no eyebrows, and baby bangs, okay? Baby bangs, I would say, could be Gemini as well, having a little pixie look or whatever for the girls, for the girls, meaning anybody who's feminine and appears feminine, can be a thing. So Neptune in Aries, though, yes, it's going to contribute to our appearances, what we are focused on, enchanted by, racing, MMA, fighting, boxing, sports. A lot of sports are ruled by Aries, but the fire signs in general love sports. But there's going to be some changes to sports. I feel like we could start going in a direction eventually, if not seeing this in 2025, but maybe a little beyond, to where they do start allowing genders to mix within sports. There could be a new sport that everyone becomes obsessed with under Neptune and Aries, outside of the regular ones that we have in our countries now. And like I said, I'm in the US, so it's like American football and baseball, basketball. Those are like the main ones that generate a lot of money. But there could be some changes to those. And yeah, some other sport that gets more popular. So we'll just talk very quickly about Pluto and Aquarius because he's going to be here for close to 20 years. So we're not going to get into all that. We're just trying to focus on 2025. But this is still a part of our year, right? So Pluto and Aquarius, of course, we already know Pluto takes 200 plus years to come back around to the same sign. The last time it was here, we had revolutions going on in America. If you're from somewhere else and you've studied your country's history, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, what was going on your side? Let us know if you know. But there was a lot of like fights for freedom and stuff like that were with Pluto and Aquarius the last time. But yeah, revolutions and stuff. So that's what Pluto and Aquarius is bringing to us once again over the next 20 years. So we could see more power to the regular people. Pluto and Capricorn was doing some things, even if it's not on a grand scale, to destroy systems to where there's rulers that are like low-key dictators, or they are not really looking out for the best interest of the people. It's more so trying to gain their own sense of power and authority. It was like selfish, personal reasons for them to gain power. And yeah, they're not really looking out for us. So Pluto and Aquarius is bringing about this new era to where we are looking out for each other. And we're not really trusting anyone who is above us in title as much. So that continues on through this year. Yes, there's more developments with AI and all of that, especially with Neptune now entering Aries, making a sextile to Pluto and Aquarius. That's going to be like that Neuralink thing. And also with Gemini, there's Uranus in Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini. Gemini rules the mind, how the mind works and processes information and communication and stuff. So that Neuralink thing that Elon Musk is trying to get out there, yes, that is definitely going to have some headlines that are involving that, if not being readily available for people to start using or getting implanted or whatever. I'm so scared to even look into it, you guys, like too deeply, because it's some scary shit. Oh my gosh, to have your brain controlled, and Aries rules the brain, Aries rules the head, and Gemini the mind. So yeah, some some more technology. If it's not specifically that Neuralink thing, then it's some other things related to that. Also more popularity with VR headsets because Aries rules the head, and then Aquarius is just technology on its own. Pluto and Aquarius destroying our for, you know, the way that things have been going for celebrities. Of course, I've talked about this in great lengths on my Instagram and some on my TikTok as well, about the destruction of celebrity and what it means to be a celebrity, the downfall of celebrity. I've been talking about this for years. I've been talking about it since my days on Astrolata, and I started back on her channel back in 2016. Okay, so been talking about it since then because Aquarius opposes Leo. So back when we had Neptune in Leo, Uranus in Leo, Pluto in Leo, back in the early part of the 20th century, this is when we had like the movie stars and the Hollywood and all of that really emerge, right? And we were really enchanted by these people and put them in this fantasy light of, oh, they're so above us and so special. But now Pluto and Aquarius is like, no. It's not. They are not that special. We are all the same. So, you know, we shouldn't really look up to these people. And who are we looking up to? So this goes for celebrity and influencer. Who are we looking up to? Are they actually good people? What do they stand for? What do they stand in solidarity for? Who do they fight for? And what do they represent? All of that is Pluto and Aquarius. We've already gotten tastes of that because, once again, I'll mention, as of right now, the young adults running the show were mainly born in the generation of Neptune and or Uranus and Aquarius. And Aquarius hates all that shit. It wants to know, are you a good person? Are you a great leader? You can't just get credit for and power and honors and riches just because you're you and you barely do anything. We don't give a fuck about your creative talent. What is that? What does that do to progress the world forward? What does it do to save hungry children and people from wars and famine and all of that. What does your talent do? Do you even do anything? Oh, that's what Pluto in Aquarius is asking. So that is continuing on. So people who are influencers, you need to enjoy the ride while you can, because Pluto is coming for that ass. And and celebrities as well. Celebrities as well. AI is coming to take over your jobs, your likeness, your image. People are going to start, you know how the people insert those little AI animated clips into their videos now? AI can generate any type of scene and scenario that you plug into it, right? So that people are going to start to want to be entertained by that over real people. Some people will. Okay. So, real people are going to have to start coming down to the same level as one another. And just having a creative talent isn't going to cut it. Just being a personality, that's not going to cut it. So Pluto in Aquarius is definitely destroying our ideas of what it means to be a famous person, a celebrity, an influencer, a leader, all of that, right? So that's going to continue. There's so much more I can say, but community and groups and us looking out for each other is going to be more to the forefront over the next 2 decades. So let's take a look at Venus in 2025 very briefly. We are not, boys, we are not going to get into every single sign that Venus is going to be in, but I have this calendar up on the screen for you. You can screenshot it. You can also take a look at how this affects you by ordering your own horoscope video, because I do go through it, through the signs and how it affects each house and each area of your chart based on your rising sign. Okay, I do that in the yearly horoscopes that are available on my website. So if you want to know that, you can go take a look at that. But I have the calendar on the screen for you to take a look at. The most important thing I'm going to talk about is Venus being in the sign of Pisces and Aries and being retrograde through those signs. So Venus goes through every sign except for Aquarius. In 2025, there's no Venus in Aquarius, there's no Mars in Aquarius. But there is Venus in all the rest of the signs, right? So the last time we had Venus retrograde from Aries back to Pisces, that was back in 2000 and let me see, I have it here. 2017. So there's a lot of 2017 repeats in 2025. So once again, what was going on in your world in 2017, especially in the house that Pisces rules, right? So this is when we went back from Aries to Pisces back then. So what was going on? Venus retrograde. Venus rules our material world. It is your money, your finances, the money that you save, the money that you earn, the money that you spend, and what you spend it on. Venus is our values. It is what we value in our physical world, is how we value ourselves. Self-worth is found within Venus. Vanity, how we look, is found within Venus. The appeal of things to our 5 senses is Venus. Every one of our 5 senses are ruled by Venus, right? So your financial situation, love and relationships are ruled by Venus, especially if you are feminine. How you express your love is ruled by Venus. And then just relationships in general, relating to others one-on-one is Venus, feminine energy, Venus, right? So when she goes retrograde, all of those things come into question. They come up for review, and especially in the house that, the signs that Venus goes retrograde in are located. So just in general, Venus from Aries to Pisces, it could be that whole reality check thing, the whole thing with perception and imagination versus what is really fucking in front of you, for real, like for real, and physically in front of you. What is really just straightforward, proven to you right in front of your face. Not you go back in your mind, you imagine, and you think, what if, and this has meaning, and putting too much meaning into things that you don't even know if they're really true. So there could be a lot of people that have that reality check with relationships, with money, and with a lot of things. Okay. So Venus is in Pisces. She goes into Pisces the very top of the year, and then she goes retrograde. Then she goes into Aries. So she goes into Aries and then she goes retrograde. So she spends a lot of time, a few months in Aries and Pisces. Okay, and Venus moves pretty fast compared to other planets. So she will continue to progress forward. Once she gets into Taurus, she's just going to start being normal again and only stay in a sign for about a month. All right, so if you want to know how Venus retrograde is going to affect you, once again, order a horoscope for your rising sign is most recommended, but your sun sign can also be super effective to check into. All right, Mars next year is also going to be retrograde. So Venus retrograde, we're reviewing the feminine, right? Mars retrograde, we're reviewing the masculine. And Mars rules the exertion of your energy, your physical drive and energy, but also the exertion of your anger, the expression of your anger. It's fighting and, battles and stuff like that. So Mars is about marching ahead and pushing forward. And when it's retrograde, if we aren't taking the time, taking the proper steps, the proper precautions, if we're just charging full speed ahead like we normally do, things can boomerang back onto us. It's like you could have just shit fly at your face, and hit you during Mars retrogrades if you're not careful. And this is going to be in Cancer, which is an emotionally driven sign. So if we are just acting out based on pure emotion, a lack of logic, while Mars is retrograde in Cancer, it can have some very shitty consequences. So if you want to just be like, woo, woo, without really thinking about what you're doing or saying, go ahead and do that. But guess what? You're going to regret it later. I always say that the water signs, it's not like they're not intelligent. Sorry, it's not that they're not intelligent at all. They are in their own ways. They're emotionally intelligent. And it's not like anyone who's born under a water sign is automatically only emotionally intelligent and that they're just stupid with logic. I'm not saying that. But they lack. It's not their greatest strength is thinking and acting out with logic, based on logic, and stopping and thinking and planning and planning out your reaction first before reacting is not a greatest strength of water signs. So I'm just giving that warning when Mars is in Cancer. Mars is actually retrograde starting in the sign of Leo at the end of 2024. It gets up to 5 degrees of Leo, then it goes retrograde, and then it goes back into Cancer at the top of 2025. So it spends a great deal of time in the sign of Cancer. Then it goes into Leo. Then it's normal again and stays in a sign for about 2 months, almost 2 months like it does normally. So yeah, but when we start out the year, it's Mars retrograde. There's so much emotion flying around, you guys. There's that Mars retrograde. There's going to be Venus retrograde in Pisces around the same time period. Let's see, Venus retrograde. Yeah, she is going to be retrograde during the time that Mars is also retrograde. So, and then we have like the North Node and Neptune together at the beginning of the year in Pisces. So there's just like a lot of emotion. Hopefully it just helps us out as human beings to have more empathy towards one another, more understanding. Don't let people step on you, walk over you, take advantage of you, take your kindness for weakness. Don't be overgiving and all of that. If you've given too much to people, when Mars is retrograde in Cancer, you'll want to take all that shit back. And of course, do that, but in a rational way. Let people know. Don't take advantage of you. It's not cool. Or if you've given a lot and it's not been reciprocated, during Mars and Cancer, people can really be speaking their piece about that. But like I said, don't go flying off the handle and crying and throwing a fit and a tantrum and doing irrational, dumb things. But definitely speak on it. Plan out your speech and just let someone know and then be done, be gone. Don't drag things out. Don't go back and forth with all this emotional shit or anything. No, just cut it off and let it be done. Mars likes a big cut off. Okay, it rules scissors and knives, for goodness sakes. So some people we may hear, unfortunately, of like attacks and murders based on emotion, or Cancer can rule like your homeland. So there can possibly be some attacks based on homeland, home country, and protection of that. Cancer energy is very protective over their home, whatever that home means for you, if that's your country or your literal just dwelling that you live in, and your loved ones, meaning your family, your blood family, your pets even, or even if you count your friends as your loved ones huddled into your shell that you protect. So a lot of themes are going to be coming up around that under this Mars retrograde in Cancer. So Mars is in Cancer through Capricorn in 2025 because of the retrograde cycle. He doesn't get too far through the zodiac, about halfway through the zodiac, starting with Cancer. And Mars, it'll be direct starting in, let's see. Oh, I didn't write it down. But it goes into Leo on April 17th. But we start out the year with it barely into Leo, the first 5 days, and then it goes into Cancer. So the first few days of Mars in Leo, there could be some things revisited with the first 5 degrees of Mars being in Leo. There's some things that are revisited from before it went retrograde, which was at the end of 2024, December. So just keep that in mind, that Mars retrograde periods do bring things back up when Mars is trekking back over the same area that it was just previously in before it went retrograde. So that's Mars next year. Mercury retrograde happens once every few months and 3 times a year. Once again, we have to worry about the shadow period as well as the actual retrograde periods. All right, so when Mercury goes retrograde, the sign and the degree that it goes retrograde in, once it's direct and surpasses that, then we're out of the shadow period. So the dates that I have up on the screen are just of the retrograde periods, not the shadow periods. So just figure roughly 2 weeks before it starts and 2 weeks after it ends as the shadow periods. But we have, once again, Mercury retrograde in fire signs. In 2024, Mercury was retrograde in fire signs. It would go from fire back to earth, I believe, or earth back to fire, something like that. But there was some fire sign Mercury retrogrades. I think it's earth back to fire. Before that, in 2023, we also had, Mercury retrograde was in earth, except for the last one in December of 2023. It went from Capricorn back to Sagittarius. So we had a little bit of Mercury retrograde in fire at the very end of the year. But yes, it's from fire back to water, but mostly fire in 2025. So fire signs, they rule action, they rule sports, they rule just really expressing a lot of physical energy and drive and excitement in our worlds. So any themes to do with that may have some Mercury retrograde things that come up with them. So reviewing and revising the way that we do certain things. So here's another Aries. We have Mercury retrograde in Aries this year. So Aries is a huge theme, right? And so is Pisces. Aries and Pisces are huge in 2025. So we have the Mercury retrograde there. We also have Venus retrograde from Aries back to Pisces. Then we have the North Node in Pisces, Saturn going from Pisces to Aries, Neptune going from Pisces to Aries. So those areas of your chart are definitely going to be popping. You definitely want to order your own yearly horoscope to see what is going on for your sign with Aries and Pisces energies. But here's the Mercury retrograde schedule that I have on the screen. Remember, these time periods are time for, yes, technological fails, vehicle fails, transportation being wonky, travel being weird, plans just getting destroyed and having to be reworked. You think you're going to be dodging Mercury retrograde. You can, to a certain extent. There can still be some fuckery that happens. So to be forewarned is to be forearmed. Definitely mark your calendars, whether digital or written, for these time frames, including the shadow periods. Remember, I told you how to calculate those. And you want to plan ahead. It's best not to travel during these times, but if you can't help it, just be prepared for your itinerary your itinerary to possibly change a few times. So be prepared for change. You can at least, if you don't know what the changes are going to be in advance, what the surprises are going to be, you can at least be prepared for possible change. Okay, so Mercury retro in 2025, once again, it's fire mostly, but from fire back to water. Water is emotional. So we have a lot of emotional shit. Retrogrades from Aries to Pisces, Venus retrograde in Pisces, Mars retrograde in Cancer, and then 2 of the Mercury retrogrades back to water, emotional stuff. So, people can, fire and water together, it can boil, right? So people can just be very super emotional next year, very protective over theirs next year, to a higher degree. So the climate wherever you live energetically with dealing with others could be very sensitive. I'm trying to think of another term, like just with a drop of a pen, someone can want to pop off about who they are and where they're from and their people. And there's a lot of that in the air in 2025, you guys. So just be mindful of what you say, especially about certain groups of people. It can cause not only just some verbal conflict, but physical conflict as well. So just be mindful of others, be respectful of others, have empathy for others, protect yourself, protect your loved ones, and just don't be saying stupid shit. Lastly, we're going to go over some other significant aspects in 2025, just very briefly here. So these are the top ones that I was able to find. Of course, throughout the year, I'll probably comb through and find some other stuff that I'll talk to you guys about in future horoscopes, I'm sure. But starting with the top of the year, we have on February 2nd through February 9th, 2025. I kind of have an error on this graphic. Forgive me for that. It's 2025, not 23. The North Node conjoined to Neptune at 28 degrees of Pisces. So these are the very last critical degrees of Pisces. So once again, like I said in the beginning, something to do with maybe chemicals, gasoline, our oceans, our water supply, music and art, our medical field, medication, drugs, alcohol. There's something there that's highlighted throughout our worlds. Okay, so some sort of change is there. Definitely look for where Pisces is at in your chart, because this is another thing around that time and beginning of February. You can have a lot of stuff going on in that realm, because we have that conjunction between the North Node and Neptune. Venus will also be in the mix at that time on the 1st of February, conjoined to the North Node and Neptune in Pisces. And then we have also Mercury retrograde. That's not until March. But yeah, there's just a lot of activity in that area. So then on the 21st of April, North Node conjoined to Saturn at 26 Pisces. It's still a later degree of Pisces. So something wrapping up, something, I don't know, North Node conjoined to Saturn. That's the authorities. So wherever you're at, there could be something in regards to your president or your leader of your country. Maybe some other type of government officials, or something to do with your government and whatever Pisces rules. I mentioned before over and over again, homelessness is Pisces, medical is Pisces, mental and physical health being taken care of is Pisces, reforms is Saturn. So something to do with the music industry, and something to do with video and photo, and some restrictions based on that could be the North Node conjoined to Saturn. Personally, where the North Node and Saturn are conjoined for you in Pisces, could be somewhere where you are being taught a harsh lesson, or given a reality check, or maybe you even gain some accolades, some recognition, some higher achievement. When we have May 24th through September 1st, Saturn is conjoined to Neptune in Aries very closely. Not exactly conjoined the whole time, but it's like pretty close. So when this happens, the themes of things that Aries rules, and combined with Neptune, can be to the forefront. So things to do with our identities and reality, and things to do with being Saturn conjoined to Neptune. Reality checks, yeah, are definitely with this too. Because Saturn and Neptune, even though they're going to be in the same sign, Saturn and Neptune, they disagree on a lot of things. Neptune doesn't give a fuck about time, schedules, routines, any of that. Saturn is all about that to the max. So Saturn hates Neptune themes of just being in la la land. And then so Saturn conjoined to Neptune is definitely reality checks for all of us. And in Aries, it's about identity, who you are, where you're from. It is about how you're expressing your aggression, your anger, how much energy you have, your drive. Taking care of your physical body is Aries. Okay, working out, your muscles, your strength, all of that. Physical drive and just mental drive. We can see with something to do with that. But yeah, that's May through September, the end of May through the beginning of September, that conjunction is. And I mentioned before, weapons and war and all that. There could be some things that come up globally, internationally, and nationally, wherever you live, that have to do with weapons, warfare, and protection and defense very strongly within that time frame. So when we get to July 7th through November 7th, so exactly 5 months, Uranus trine Pluto. They are both at 1 degree of Gemini, which is Uranus, and Aquarius, which is Pluto, between August 21st and 10/10 of 25. So they'll both be at 1 degree. So this is a time where we can see some things come up to do with Gemini things, which are the mind, communication, and vehicles and short distance travel that are going to be affected by in an Aquarian way. So once again, the Neuralink thing, some sort of technology that has to do with the brain and the head and how your mind works, turning us into half man, half cyborg robot things and shit like that. They're going to try to start doing that. Those VR headsets can gain a lot of popularity during that time, and devices and gadgets similar to that. Some changes within vehicles, vehicle production, encouraging people to abandon their vehicles and take the train, the subway, the bus, ride their bicycles, get on their skateboards, start footing it. Their patamobiles. Between those 5 months, it could be very strongly encouraged, enforced. We may see some more developments with vehicles like Tesla. There might be a different brand of vehicle that comes out that's similar to Tesla, the self-driving and all the computery things and all of that stuff during that time. And also, this is when things like bicycles can go viral, tricking out your bike and look at me, everyone, I'm biking around, follow my influence, all of that shit. So October 22nd through the end of the year, Saturn and Neptune are back in Pisces together. They're both back in Pisces from October to, so we're wrapping up Piscean themes with both of them, and they're going to be very close together. So once again, it's putting up those boundaries with people taking advantage of you. It's also solidifying Neptunian themes, turning them more into solid business ventures, perhaps, for some people. So Neptunian themes, once again, are like astrology and tarot, and also anything that's artistry, music, painting, drawing, video, photo, DJing, all of that, dancing, all of that is Pisces. So some sort of boundaries, limitations, restrictions, and rules could be set up to do with those things. November 2nd through the 21st, we have Jupiter trine Saturn. So these two energies are working together. Okay, Jupiter is in Cancer by that time. Saturn is in the later degrees of Pisces. So this could have something to do with homeless reform, healthcare reform, especially to do with pregnancy and women and childbirth and babies and all of that. Maybe like maternity leave. Some changes there in areas of the world where there needs to be change. Something to do with the care of animals, perhaps. We could see some changes with that, some emphasis on that. Jupiter trine Saturn. Jupiter tells Saturn to loosen up. Jupiter is, wee, let's party. You could do whatever you want. Saturn is the planet of saying no, right? So loosening up something to do that with Piscean themes that Saturn is trying to put some restriction on, Jupiter and Cancer might do. Then we have the end of the year, November 19th through December 11th. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are all sextile and or trine each other in the sky. So these outer planets, except for Pluto, the main outer planets minus him, they are all in positive aspect to one another. So, I mean, this can mean a multitude of things. I'm not going to get into all of them. This is already a 2-hour long video. Thank you so much for rocking with me this long if you have. But just keep this in mind that those outer planets are all going to be in great aspect to one another. There are still going to be some challenging aspects that month, because we are still going to have some of the inner planets in the mix too that may be like opposing them or squaring them, making some challenging aspects that kind of give a little bit of yucky energy. But for the most part, it's all like favorable looking energy at the end of the year. And, you know, at least in November. Because Uranus is going to dip back into Taurus. Saturn is going to be back into Pisces. Neptune back into Pisces. And Jupiter in Cancer. Now, we are going to have, at the same time, Mercury is going to be retrograde in Scorpio. That's going to oppose Uranus. It'll make a trine to Jupiter. It'll make a trine to Saturn. So there could be a little bit of wonky in the mix there. Then we're going to have Venus and Scorpio also in the mix, opposing Uranus, bringing wonkiness, but making good aspects to Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune. And Mars is going to enter Sagittarius and kind of make some squares to all of that stuff. Well, to the Pisces stuff, at least. Make some squares. So there's some aspects that are kind of not the best, but there's a really good, auspicious, favorable time at the end of November through the beginning of December to, you know, and once again, you got to look and see where these houses are in your chart to see like the auspiciousness of it all. Okay. So that was it, you guys, for this brief 2 hours is brief, but your girl can talk and I have a lot of information to give. So it's brief for me for all of this stuff. Rundown of 2025, what we can possibly expect. What is the map of the planetary activity next year? Don't forget to grab your 2025 horoscope off of my website, indigomoonastrology.com. If you can't remember that and don't want to type it all out, usually in my Instagram, I have a link tree in my bio that'll lead you to whatever I talk about, okay? They are on pre-sale through July 15th of 2024, and after that, they're going to be available for a bit higher of a price. Okay, so they're on sale at the very beginning as a pre-sale, a pre-order. Once they're released, they're going to be a little bit more expensive, but definitely worth it because they will be at least a minimum of an hour of a podcast style horoscope to tell you where all of this stuff is happening for you in your life and your chart based on your rising sun or moon sign. So go ahead and grab yourself one of those ASAP. Be ahead of the game. Find out how to move, how to navigate in 2025. And I wish you guys all the best. I wish you the best outcome for every transit and lots of success, safety, protection, good health, and love. Because I'm a lover girl. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening and take care. Peace.